Hi, today I'm here with Sue Scheff, founder of Parents Universal Resource Experts, Inc. The acronym is P.U.R.E. P.U.R.E. was founded in 2001, and since that time, P.U.R.E. has provided over 100,000 families with valuable information and resources for their at-risk children and teens. So let's start with your personal story.
Well, first I want to thank you for having me to share my story and how we've been educating families for almost 2 decades now, since 2001. And I started my organization because over 20 years ago, I actually had an at-risk teen, but she was a good kid making bad choices. And it's the same story we hear from parents every week, every day. At 13 years old, she actually made nationals in the gymnastics world. But what happened was when she was training, she broke her foot in like 5 different spots and all of a sudden wasn't able to compete or train anymore. And they called me up and they said, you know, we're really sorry, but she's going to have to leave the team. And it devastated her because this was her whole world. So she came home and within like 2 or 3 months, she just became a child I didn't recognize anymore. And I guess it's very understandable. She was 13, 14 years old, going through those crucial years of any little girl, struggling with her identity, struggling with who she is, self-esteem. And she just started spiraling out of control, defiance, running away, started witchcraft, just, I guess, trying to find herself. And we just started really having a lot of family conflict. I felt like I was walking on eggshells. If I said black, she said white. I would say to you, she wasn't doing drugs. But when you read our book, her chapter comes up and she's like, ooh, what my mom didn't know. I hear it from parents every day, not my kid. And I said it too. Oh no, not my daughter. I mean, she may be defiant and she may be bad, but she never did drugs. But she was doing wine coolers at the bus stop, and I guess she tried pot. And
how old was she when all this?
She was 14. We went from this precious little, I call her my angel, which she was, to this child I didn't even recognize anymore. So it was really devastating. And I know parents out there can relate to me because I hear that from parents all the time on, but you don't understand. You know, here she is, a straight A student. They were on varsity football and they were this and that. And then all of a sudden, you know, it takes that one incident to just break them. You know, they're only children, remember.
And what was the moment when you realized you couldn't handle it and you needed something else?
Well, we went through several therapists. I mean, right away, you reach out for counseling. We went to 5 different counselors at the time. We tried inpatient. We went through a week of, you know, they tried the Prozac, they tried the Depakote for mood stabilizers. We did outpatient. And I encourage you try everything you can locally. And then my mom says, listen, I'll take her. She can't be that bad. So my mother took her for about 10 days. Because again, we actually got into my household where she looked at me, I hate you, no, I hate you more. And then you know you're at your wit's end, right? So my mother's like, okay, I'll take her. And this was my last effort. And by the end of she went to live with my mom's, and by the end of the 10th day, my mother calls me up and she's like, you know what? I don't care where you send her. I don't care how much it costs. You need to get her help. She's really, you know, she's out of control. I had a 14-year-old daughter spiraling out of control. And what it really is a cry for help. And I think many parents recognize this. It's a cry for help.
So you recognize that moment. Like my heart is racing as you're telling the story, because you're at that point, it's like, where do you turn? Like, you've exhausted the local resources, and what was your first step?
I knew I wanted to find a program to build my daughter back up again. I also knew she loved horses. So I figured, let me find a therapeutic program that has horses that was included. So anyway, I got online and I found a program that said they had horses and they had therapy. So that was the program that I had selected. Little did I know, not only didn't they not have horses, they didn't have therapy either. So it was, I mean, I had a really horrific experience, and so did my daughter. She was in this program for 6 months. She was harmed. It was neglect, abuse. They put her in a box for like 17 hours a day. And she was there for 6 months, and people are going to be like, oh my God, why didn't you know what was going on? And I didn't. I mean, I was a desperate parent. I was at my wit's end. I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't do my research that I'm now educating parents on what to do, how to do it, and what there is out there. Are quality schools and programs out there. I just didn't know. I think you had asked me at one point what I learned the hard way. What I learned the hard way is the teen help industry is a big business that really preys upon the desperate parent if we're not educated on this. And none of us are educated when you first step out into this arena of teen help and residential therapy. So I urge everyone to step back and breathe, and not to place immediately, but take your time and learn about this industry, because there are really great quality programs out there. So my website at helpyourteens.com actually educates parents on questions to ask and how to go about looking for quality and safe schools and programs out there. Things that I didn't know 20-something years ago.
So let's go back to the wilderness program for 1 second. Are they ever suitable for kids? Are there some kids who do really well there?
First of all, I don't want to dish the wilderness programs, because I can tell you they are very reputable programs out there, and there are kids that have really great experiences in them. They all do, actually. When I speak to them, they love their therapist, they love the staff, they had a great experience. The hiccup that you have here is that they're very expensive. They start anywhere from $375 up to $550 a day. So you have this $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 Band-Aid, right? So when you have a parent that only has a budget of maybe $60,000 to $80,000, and you just eat it up in the first 4 to 6 weeks, and then you have to go on to another RTC or TBS, you just don't have it.
Tell us what RTC and TBS stand for.
Residential Treatment Center and Therapeutic Boarding School. Some really great wilderness programs out there. Like when parents are like, but I really want a wilderness program, I'll say, okay, here are the top 3 quality programs. And they're good programs. They're good people, they're good programs, but they're not going to fix your child. And lo and behold, they end up calling me like 12 weeks later, oh, you were right, now I need an RTC. Because they come out of the wilderness program, 2 to 3 weeks later, they're back smoking dope on the corner. There's short-term fixes, short-term program, short-term results. Long-term program, long-lasting behavioral changes. It makes sense. But when you switch programs, now you have to pay startup fees all over again. You have to switch programs. Your child now gets angry all over again because he thought he went into the wilderness program, he can fake it to make it for 9 to 6 weeks, and he goes home, right? And the other thing is now he has to switch therapists again. I don't know about anybody that has ever done therapy, but when you switch therapists, you have to start your story all over again. Teens don't like that. And I mean, it's frustrating, it's stressful, it's anxiety all over again.
So I pick a few programs after doing some research, and I'm going to call those programs. What are the first 3 questions that I should ask that should, kind of give me the broadest information?
Okay. Number 1, you pick up the phone. You found a few programs. You pick up the phone. First thing you want to ask that program is when you talk to the person, is what is your relationship to this program? I can't tell you how many websites out there have these toll-free numbers that are to marketing arms. So you have to be really, really careful. I tell every parent out there, you make sure you're talking to an owner or a director, someone that has a vested interest in your child's recovery. And number 2 question is, ask what is the population of the kids that you have in that program. It's just so important not to misplace your student. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of programs out there that just want to talk about heads and beds rather than what's in the best interest of your child. So ask that. And this is really important, and I know some parents, it is important, but what is your tuition? No one has tuition on their price on their websites, and for a reason, because tuitions are high. And I'm going to tell you, in the private pay sector, you're looking at prices that start anywhere between $6,000 and $7,000 a month up to $15,000. Sometimes, in the detox recovery, it can be up to $30,000 a month, everyone, a month. So be prepared for that sticker shock, but also understand, if you go to my website under financial options, there's educational loans, your insurance, if you have PPO, there's out-of-network options. In November, there's open enrollment, I think, through Cigna and Aetna for single child policies, all right, for mental health policies. There's all different options here to pay for these types of programs. There's different, if you have an adopted child through foster care, there's different agency assistant programs. So that's an important, really important question, because you don't want to waste your time with a director, owner, talking all about your child only to find out, oh, by the way, we're $15,000 a month. And it's like, you could afford $6,000, but $15,000, you know, you just wasted an hour on the phone.
All right, what are the red flags? You mentioned a few of them, like not being able to get to either the director or the owner. What are the little known red flags that you've learned over the years?
Okay, programs that market too much. I tell everyone, go beneath the Google ads. Programs that put so much money into marketing is red flags. The other big red flag is if a program will not give you parent references, walk away. It's that simple. Any program out there should be able to give you parent references. They all should. And of course, they're going to be good parent references. That's fine. It's all and it's all about when you talk to the parent reference, asking the right questions to get some answers that may be a little bit, like you can say to a parent, if you could change one thing about that program, what would it be? Then you get a little bit of the negative, and there's nothing wrong with that. It may not be enough negative not to go to the school, but it may prompt you to ask another question. They may say to you, you know, now that you mention it, I didn't get all the clinical hours I was promised. Okay, call the director back. Hey, you know, how many clinical hours can I expect my son to get? It's all about going in eyes wide open. And then a really important thing I want everyone to be aware of. They call themselves placement specialists now, and that's what these toll-free numbers are. This is not in the best interest of your child. You call up these numbers, they send you off a list of schools. Many of these schools are not accredited, they're not licensed, and these people, they're getting paid by the schools or programs, they track you, they throw in the cookies for you. You have to be really, again, it's about heads and beds rather than what's in the best interest of your child.
You know, this is so overwhelming on so many levels. I'm frustrated with my kid. I'm beyond frustrated. I'm actually terrified. And then there's all these things to be worried about. So tell me what P.U.R.E does. How do I'm listening to this and I think to myself, I need someone else to talk to and to help work through this. How does P.U.R.E handle these?
Well, first of all, a lot of times parents call us up with exactly that when they're ready to place. There's a couple reasons why parents call us up. Number one, they're at their wit's end and they're overwhelmed with the internet and they've read my story. Can we help? Parents will call me up with a list of programs and they'll want to say, you know, have you heard of this one? Have you heard of that one? Over the past 20 years, I have feedback from parents. I used to go to Utah at least 4 times a year, visit different schools and programs. I educate families on how to vet a school or program. I want to give you a couple tips here. What'll happen is sometimes the parent will say, hey, listen, I'm looking at ABC school. Do you know anything about it? And I'll say, you know, I've had several parents come to us and give us a lot of negative feedback, and this is what it's been. This is a huge financial and emotional decision. You know, take all the precautions you can. Ask friends and family. You know, sometimes you don't even know your friend has been down this road before you hit it. So word of mouth is sometimes the best referral out there. And always, by all means, ask for a copy of their license and a copy of their academic accreditation. You do not want to go into a school, pay $50,000 only to find out that you can't transfer their academic accreditation.
Okay, what's the most important thing you wished you'd known?
I wish I had trusted my gut. I tell every parent this. Trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. When I went to Carolina Springs, I dropped my daughter off. A lot of people use transport, and there's nothing wrong with transport, but I dropped her off, and the minute I got there, I knew it wasn't right. When you're going through this, and you're going to have all these feelings, these roller coaster feelings, and you're going to think, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, don't do it then. Wait until it feels right. You may go visiting programs, or you may be talking to directors on the phone. I have parents all the time, they call me up, well, I don't know which program, I like this one, I like that one. I said, well, keep talking to parent references. don't make a decision because you think. You are going to know 100% when it's right, because this is a big decision. You know, trust your gut. That is my best advice, because if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. You are your child's advocate, just like you are your child's advocate in school, at home. This is a big decision.
Sue Scheff, founder of Parents Universal Resource Experts, Inc. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And you can visit our website at helpyourteens.com if you want more information.